Okay, so for now I'm gonna skip the buttonholes. Or not the buttonholes, the belt loops. I might go back and add them later. That's not something that I need to do right now, but when I initially set out to make these, I wanted to leave those off. So I'm gonna see how I feel with them off once they're completed. So we are installing the buttonholes in the hardware. So the bib is gonna get the actual click hardware. And then normally you would do jeans buttons here that you would hammer in, but I decided I wanted to do regular snaps because my Juki doesn't do buttonholes, or my Juki doesn't do buttonholes, and I just didn't feel like getting my Janome out. And I have snaps readily available. So I'm gonna do regular snaps, and if they suck for whatever reason, then I'll replace them at a later date. Another note is I pulled out the bib pattern and the pocket pattern, and I did not like the placement of the buttons, and it's probably, user error. All of my seam allowances shifted, and then of course the pattern not being printed correctly off the rip. So I marked my 2 buttonholes over here, and I went in 5/8 of an inch from my side seam, and I did one at 3/4 of an inch and then one at 2.5. So I'm going to replicate that over here. So 5/8 of an inch. This one has a much bigger curve over here. So I'm just going to go from there. Okay, 5/8 of an inch. It seems way different. Yeah, so this side is much higher. So basically, I'm just gonna put it right in the center of this, right, y'all? It's like right there, and then I'm gonna measure down 2.5 so that I get, oh, no, I measured down 3 on accident. Hopefully the silver comes out of this denim. Oh wait, that's about right. Okay. So there are these are going to be my snaps, and then I need to mark up top where my actual jeans button are going to go. And she said it's 0.75 in and 0.75 down, which that also puts it way down here next to my stitching. So I don't want to do that either. I want it to be like right about there. So I'm just going to put the 1 for now, and then I'm going to punch these holes here. Okay. And then I'm going to use these holes that I just made to figure out where I need the bottom of the snaps to be. So I'm just going to use these holes and make my marks. Okay, that worked. And repeat on this side. I need to punch these holes as well. Now, if you're not using spring snaps here, you're not going to punch holes. You're going to use an awl. So just like a really pointy object, and create a hole for your jeans button to go into. So unless you're using spring snaps like I am, be sure to follow the pattern or follow the True Bias video. Okay, so let's get these set. So these spring snaps I got from a different shop. The first spring snaps that I got, I received from Gold Star Tool, and that's where my press is from as well. And you have to use 2 different sets of dies to set their snaps, but these have flat caps for both the front and the back. So you just use the flat cap on these guys, which is nice. So you put a flat cap in the front. All right, so to install these guys, I'm gonna actually punch a tiny hole here. Come on, you little bugger. All right, there we go. And then you take the top section and you need to hammer it. So grab a regular hammer. I'm gonna put a piece of cloth or a rag over it so that I don't mess up the top. Okay, so it's not quite set, so I'm just gonna keep hammering it. There we go. So now that's attached, and we just need to repeat the process on this side. All right, so these, first off, I tried these on. I did a dry fit and they fit perfectly, and the straps are actually like just long enough. So I'm gonna omit the strap slide, but you would put the strap slide on first and then you put your snap on. And I couldn't find any super duper clear instructions on how to use these that have this slide in the middle. But what I did find is you go up over the top and then back down over the thick slide. And then that you loop it back up through the center bar here. And then you have to finagle it back through the top. So underneath where we first came in. And if I'm correct, then you don't need a slider bar because the middle of this clasp acts as the slide. Now on my particular denim, it kind of gives me guff when I'm trying to move it around, but I think that that's correct. You could just finish it here and then have this hanging, and then you could just tuck that under your strap when you're wearing them. But because I tried them on and they fit really well at the length that they're at, I think I'm just going to attach it directly to the strap itself. So I'm just going to like try to lay this nicely. And then I'm just going to double fold this and rivet it. But see, that's the thing. If you rivet it right here, then there's no moving it. That's all you got. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to use these things. So if you know, let me know in the comments, send me a link. Because I searched and watched several videos, and without another strap slide up here, without another strap adjuster, then you don't really have anywhere else to attach this, best I can figure out. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Now the other alternative, of course, is say you want to use a strap slide. These are the dinky ones that they sent with me, or that they sent with this. But say you use a strap slide, you put it through like so. And then you could just go up and around the whole center bar on the clasp. And then you would go back up. You have to give yourself some leeway here. And then you go back up and over the center bar on the slide. Like so. Sorry, I know it's probably pretty hard for you to tell what I'm doing, but Don't really know of a way to do it where you can see and where I can see as well. So I'm just gonna put a couple clips in here before we make any decisions. See, and for how I'm going to be wearing them with the strap basically fully extended, I just feel like this hardware is unnecessary, but it does make them a lot easier to adjust because this one is like impossible, basically. So maybe I will add the adjusters just for the look, but I'm going to try out my nicer adjuster because this one is just bunk. And it's not welded together right there. Let's try this guy out. All right, so up and over the center bar. See, it's so big. I don't like that. You could totally just pop this piece of hardware off too because it's useless essentially. But see, now they don't match. The hardware doesn't match. So I feel like we're back to square one. And see, they're just all like that. That's just annoying. But I think that's the breaks. All right, so once you get it situated back down through here, you would stitch across there, but I'm gonna do rivets. And I think I'm actually gonna fold it over about 1/2 inch and then fold it on itself so that I can hide all these raw edges. And then the thing that I'm really paying attention to is I don't want there to be any edges hanging out on the sides. So do it like that. And then it'll sit right there. So that's essentially what it'll look like. And see, the hardware fits up here where the strap gets a little bit wider, but when it's fully extended down here, it's too wide. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat that on this side, and then I will rivet my straps into place, and then we just have to hem, and we are all done. Okay, so now I'm just gonna have to very carefully add a rivet to both of those spots. And I was gonna do 2, but I think I might just do 1. Or I'm just gonna do 2 here on the edge. Because the problem is that the edges have so much thickness to them and the center doesn't. So you either need to do it right on the edge or 1 in the center. Otherwise your rivet is not gonna set correctly. But we'll try this out. Okay, so the last step is to hem the pants. Now you can sew the hem, you can leave them raw like this and fold them up. You can let them fray and get all tatted at the bottom. Tattered, I think that's the word I'm looking for there. You can do whatever you'd like. For these, I'm gonna show you how she tells you to make them in the pattern, and then you can decide how you do them. So first I'm gonna flip them inside out. And I have my regular iron heating up over here. But essentially what she tells you to do is to fold up the bottom by 1/4 of an inch and then 1 whole inch. And then we're going to stitch there. And then from here is where you fold them. Now she assumes that once you do this hem that you're going to fold them up twice. But if you try them on and you want to keep them long or short or whatever, you know, choose your own adventure on this for sure. I am going, when I tried them on earlier, I folded them up twice on themselves. So I think that it'll be nice to have one stitched down fold to fall back on. So like when they're in the wash or drying or whatever, they always keep that one fold. And then I can fold them up from there if I want them to be little shorties or not. I'm trying to decide if I want to do the 1/4 inch first fold under or if I want to let them get tattered, but I think we'll do them like the pattern says. All right, so first I'm just going to repress this little butterflied area. And then I think just sticking with what's been working really well, I'm going to add some tape here, just right along the edge, so that when I flip that 1/4 inch up, it holds itself. So this is 1/8 inch. This is what I've been using the whole time. And this tape is from Sewalong. This is the Hyper Stick tape. This stuff is super duper sticky. It will gum up your needle. If you have a machine that is particular, I would keep this out of your stitch line. The other tape that I use is from the Sewing Room in Garner, and that does not gum up my needle at all. So just some info for you. Okay, so I'm going to start just by folding it up, just doing a thin roll, about 1/4 of an inch, all the way around. And now I'm going to fold it up an inch from there. All right, now I'm going to go stitch all the way around the top sections where I clipped on my cuff. I don't know why it did this to me here, but I'm going to work on that and fix it, and then I'm going to iron it, and then I'll show you what they look like. So here is what they look like on Starburst pockets. So this is just with the 1 inch hem. Honestly, I don't know if it is the denim or what it is, but they feel like kind of restricting. Oh, see, I just popped my side buttons just bending over it. They feel a little like stiff. I did notice that this denim, every time I pressed it, it got more and more stiff. So I'm thinking that I'm going to throw them in the wash and let them air dry. And I'm hoping that it'll soften the denim a little bit, because when I first started cutting the denim, it wasn't this stiff at all. So I'm hoping that that will ease them up. Something else that I might do is here on the shorts, I might just split the seam a little bit so that they can splay, because when I sit down, they get really tight around my thighs, which I don't think is intentional, or it's not supposed to. Even just bending over, they're just kind of, they just feel a little constricting. I already went back and I hemmed my shorts even shorter, and I added a V cut on the side. When I put them on to test them with the original length after I hemmed them. When I was standing, they fit great. They were very fitted, but they fit great. But as soon as I bent over, I popped my snaps and the thighs area just got really constricted. So like sitting down was semi uncomfortable. So yeah, I just went ahead, I cut a whole 1.25 inches off the bottom length. Like I unpicked my hem. So they were the original length. I cut 1.25 inches off the bottom, and then I folded it up 1/4 and then another 3/4 fold. So instead of a 1-inch fold, I did a 3/4 fold. And then I split the hem up the side seam and I just sewed up and over it. And I just literally like split it this way to do that. I didn't have to take the whole thing apart. So I just split it up 2 inches and then I sewed across to bar tack that there. So my inseam now is 4 inches. So I imagine that when I'm wearing these, I will not have them cuffed like the pattern originally called for. And then the final step that I forgot about until I had them on is we need to pick our faux fly. Now you can leave it closed like this and it won't like flap open in the wind, but she says to give it a real fly look, you pick these basting stitches that we did a long time ago. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but when you have your seam ripper, you're supposed to put the bead side down into the seam. And then in theory, you should just be able to slide right across. It makes me nervous to do it with denim. I do it with cottons all the time. But with the denim and with using such matching thread, I have a hard time differentiating. But as it goes, you put your bead side down and then you just glide across your stitches. And so we're going to unpick all the way down to this first bar tack here on the crotch seam. And then you pull your threads. And then now these are officially done. I have not tried them back on since I rehemmed the bottoms. So let's put them on and I will show you what they look like. Oh, wait, something else that I did. So putting them on and off to try them on, I noticed that the hip placket and the hip facing, this kept flipping backwards and then I'd have to get in there and kind of shift it around. And so I just added a stay stitch right across these two to hold them together. So yeah, there we go. I like the length much better now that I shortened it and then added the V. I can basically do a squat now and they're not constricting. I love the butt pockets. I think I would probably consider moving them over just ever so slightly toward the seam line, the center seam here, because they're kind of on the sides. Although when I put my hands in my pockets, it feels comfortable. Here's my little faux fly. I've still got a bunch of threads in there. Haven't picked those out yet. The pocket is usable. That's nice. So you can see that they're like really fitted when I'm standing. Other than that, I think the pattern came together really nicely. If I wasn't recording, I could have made this in a day, no problem. I think if I make a few pairs, I can make them in several hours. Cutting seemed to be a little strenuous, but as with cutting any pattern for the first time, especially clothing, especially denim, and I was sitting on the floor, so I kind of had everything working against me, and that still only took an hour to cut all the denim, all the interfacing, gather all the supplies, and then fuse the interfacing. That took an hour. So that's really not that bad. And I think start to finish, if I started sewing, I could make these in 4 or 5 hours, would be my guess. Something else I would keep in mind is the length of my straps. So not only would I elongate them on this end here, I would make sure that they did not taper like they do on the pattern. I would keep them a straight line so that the hardware fits all the way down and not just when it's up here. Yeah, I think that's it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. This was my first clothing tutorial, sew along, whatever you want to call it. be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and check out the pattern by True Bias. These are the Riley overalls. I will definitely be making a pair of long overalls for fall and winter. And I think that they could be really cool in like corduroy. That would be super fun. And then if I make them big enough, then I can wear like a chunky sweater underneath, or yeah. So the possibilities are endless. A lot of her other patterns are really great too. I really love the Hudson pants. Those are like a jogger. Those are my PJs. I wear those all the time. I have several pairs of those, and those come together super quick, especially with the serger. So yeah, check out True Bias Patterns. You can find all the links below, and thanks for joining.